All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. So I was lucky enough to see Paul McCartney back in the 80s during his resurgence, during the latter half of that decade when he put out two or three really great albums in a row, forced his way back onto rock stations, and I think even a little bit on top 40, but mostly on rock stations. I'm thinking of songs like My Brave Face. Actually, there are a whole slew of songs from that period of time that I think were some of his most creative work throughout his entire career. I'm just going to say it. I mean, obviously, you got to go back to the Beatles and his period with Wings to get anywhere close to that. He was writing songs with people like Elvis Costello, and he just seemed like he had, I don't know, a new lease on life, and he was still sounding great. He was still looking great. And, you know, he's aged fairly well, but he is 79 years old right now, and he's embarking on a tour of the United States. Not a huge tour, but it's a tour. So he's appearing, for instance, at the Hard Rock Live in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Some people call it Hollywood, Florida. Either way, it's the same place. Now, if I want a second balcony seat, which I'm thinking has got to be, when you think second balcony, you're thinking nosebleed, right? You're thinking real nosebleed in the second balcony. And you're not really close to the stage. So those are 100% facts. You know, you can't really dispute that. Second balcony, 307, row F. The tickets are $464 each to see Paul McCartney, 79 years old. And let's just do a little truth bomb here, okay? And I love Paul McCartney. I'm not dumping on Paul McCartney. During the last tour that he did, he was not sounding good at all. I mean, here and there, you'd hear the old Paul, but his voice has gotten, I don't know, very raspy, and it's all down in here somewhere, but it's not really the same tone. And Paul had that tone for decades and decades and really didn't lose it until I would say maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And then you really noticed a difference. You know, sometimes it's like getting on a horse for him. When he's galloping along through the song, it's not as prevalent, but when he ramps up to that point, you can really hear a different Paul McCartney, a straining Paul McCartney, not vocally anywhere near where he used to be. And again, I'm not blaming anybody here. I'm not saying, oh, it's Paul's fault that his voice sounds like this. He's 79. By the way, he's going to be 80 in June, 80 years old, right? And he's been singing most of his life. So do you expect his voice not to change, especially at this stage in his life? That would be wishful thinking or a medical procedure or a miracle of some kind. I mean, if Paul McCartney could find the fountain of youth, I'm sure he would go and get it, you know, especially if he wanted to sing like he did, say, 30 or 40 years ago. The point is, the tickets are $464 each to hear Paul McCartney in this condition. Now, I have a couple of theories. Number one, this is kind of a small venue, this Hard Rock Hotel thing. So they've got to charge a lot for the tickets. But I've been told that no matter where you go around the country, you're looking at $400 a ticket, if not more. And the other theory I have is this is probably going to be, even though it's not being billed as, the last time you'll probably see Paul McCartney out on the road. That's my theory. I haven't heard anything. Nobody has said, you know, it's official. This is Paul's last tour. I mean, Paul isn't Kiss, right? He's not going to put out, hey, this is my farewell tour. And then 2 years later, oh, no, this is really my farewell tour. No, 3 years later, this is my final farewell tour. You know what I mean? I don't think he's going to do that crap. I mean, he's not Gene Simmons. He's Paul. And I think Paul is just going to go out there thinking that I can do this forever, and he's kind of done it forever, at least in human terms, going to turn 80 years old. I get it. Ringo is what, 81? And he seems to be reverse aging. I think vocally, Paul has had to do far more, singing in a falsetto at times, singing in all kinds of different places on the musical scales. And at this point in time, to pay that kind of money to see Paul McCartney in this condition, unless, he had some kind of miracle thing happen to him, I'll have to hear what it sounds like. And then I can say, look, I was right. You're paying, for 2 tickets, you're paying like $1,000. For 3 tickets, you're paying like almost $1,400 to see Paul McCartney. And I think if you had a chance to see him when I got to see him, I think you'd be satisfied. I know for a lot of people, it's on their bucket list and they just want to be in the same room. And this is the final theory of all this, is that at a certain point, people are just like, okay, I want to see Paul McCartney one more time because I might not get to see him again. And then they kind of put a happy face on the fact that he just doesn't sound anywhere close to what he used to sound like. And to me, I don't want to remember people in this way. I don't want to see and hear them in this way. I mean, it's not like I'm not expecting him to age, but maybe retirement is an idea. He could just retire from the road. He could still work in the studio. I mean, you can do a lot in the studio if your voice isn't what it used to be. I mean, he talked about how John Lennon, if he were still alive, would love auto-tune because he'd want to play with it. And, maybe Paul wants to figure out how to use auto-tune or something. I hope not. But the point is, I think doing live gigs at this stage is just not a good idea because people need to remember you back in the days when you were in Wings or in the 80s when Linda was still here. And it was just a better time. And the music was of a better quality and the writing was vibrant and you were still on the radio and you were still relevant. Now it's as if, I've got to just hold on to this legacy, even though I don't think I'm doing my legacy any good. That's what this feels like to me. But again, I may be in the minority. If they sell out these gigs, which they're probably going to, $1,300 for 3 tickets, $1,000 for 2 tickets. I know some people have disposable income, but a lot of people are struggling right now just to make ends meet. So who knows? Who knows what this is all about? Could it be the last Paul McCartney tour? I think it should be if it's not, announced maybe at the end. But then a lot of people will be ticked off because they'll be like, hey, he didn't say this would be the last time, and I really wanted to go. Well, if you want to go and you think it's the last time, second balcony, 307, row F, at the Hard Rock Live in Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Florida. There you go. So, yeah, that's my video on this topic. It's depressing. I mean, Mickey Dolenz is out on the road. He sounds better. He still can sing. And I know he's not Paul McCartney. I mean, he's the poor man's Paul McCartney, right? But he's got a lot of great songs and great material and celebrating the legacy of the Monkees, which I think is really cool. You got a Beatle and you got a monkey out there. I would probably go see, believe it or not, I've already seen Paul in his prime. I might go see Mickey, seriously, because I don't think I've ever seen Mickey on his own. I have seen the 3 Monkees together, and I've seen Peter Tork playing piano, which was amazing. But yeah, Paul McCartney tickets, too rich for most people's blood, and vocally, we'll have to wait and see how good or bad this is.